What's going on, guys? My name is Matt with Carolina Coops, and welcome to beautiful Apex, North Carolina. Right behind me is one of our go-to, most popular chicken coops, what we call a Carolina Coop. And what I want to do in this video is show you some things that make this coop very unique, and also show off some of the newest things that we have changed to all of our coops. Now, when I talk about change, one of the biggest ones that I'm talking about right now is switching to ACRE. ACRE is that wonderful material that I made a decision to switch to with all of our chicken coops. It's replacing the high density polyethylene, and it's going to replace anything that is plywood or solid wood. And the reason for that is to make it so it's a higher quality chicken coop. And I want to get a couple things out on the table right now from some of the negative comments that people have said about when it comes to ACRE. It is not a cheaper product. It's actually 10 times more expensive than wood. And also, it's not just because it's 51% rice hull, it's an upcycled material. It doesn't mean it's from China, okay? It is 100% American rice. All right, and that is one of the biggest things that I feel as a business owner that I'm always thinking about. What can I do to make the coops the best for you guys? That was a decision I had to make, and you guys know I'm always trying to keep the price down, but let's face it, I'm gonna always make sure with our coops you have the absolute best. So speaking of the ACRE, if you take a look at this beautiful Carolina Coop over here, this is all ACRE. Now, all the framing is still Douglas fir. Absolutely love Douglas fir. We love Douglas fir because it's very strong, it's very stable, and there is a lot of weather-resistant properties to the lumber. But when you look at this chicken coop, here is what we call, white coop, black trim, meaning blacked out with the black roofing, black hardware. It's a very classy look, kind of one of those less is more, if you will. And then when you look at, this is the siding, and we got some corner trim, baseboard trim, and we got a lot of battens going on here. This is the fascia boards. This is all ACRE. And the reason why we love the ACRE is I know this is never gonna rot. I know it comes from an upcycled material. And most important, I can tell you for us as woodworkers, as much as I love working with wood, but when you're building something for an exterior application, you got to think about how much the weather changes out here, and wood moves a lot. That's one of the fun parts, if you will, about woodworking. ACRE is very stable, and that just makes our job that much easier. And then when it comes to having to paint a chicken coop, it's actually a nightmare going through solid wood material, sanding it all, covering the knots so the tannins don't bleed through, and doing all the caulking and anticipating all that expansion and contraction. We don't have to worry about that with ACRE, and it is just so beautiful. The material is absolutely flawless. Here, this entire footprint of this chicken coop, it's 8 foot wide by 18 foot long, and the hen house is 6 foot deep, 4 foot tall, and also 8 foot wide. And the reason why I want to mention that is I was thinking a lot about getting ready for this video, and I've been doing a lot of reflecting lately. And one of the things that I can tell you that if you are just thinking about getting into chickens right now, you probably have the same question I had years ago, and that is, what size coop should I have for the number of chickens I want? And if you're asking yourself that question, I promise you, you are on the right track. That is the most important question you should be asking yourself, because it's the most important part about successfully having a wonderful, beautiful, healthy backyard flock. Now, also, I wanted to share a little bit of behind the scenes here with this coop, this story. Already you see some chickens in here, and maybe as we do our walk around, you'll see that they're actually free ranging. And right now it's the middle of July, it's the middle of the day, and we just showed up and they were out free ranging. Even the camera guy right now goes, "Where's all the chickens?" I said, "They'll be here once they see us." And sure enough, they came running. Here's the point. Another thing that happened in this situation is this customer already had her chicken coop set up. And if you understand chickens, you understand they're creatures of habit. And you actually always want to understand that and take advantage of it. And one of the concerns you can have is when you put a newer coop in this case, a newer coop, bigger coop, and you put in a completely different location from where the chickens are used to, it can be kind of difficult with that transition. So this one worked out perfect. The customer followed my advice. They went out at night, grabbed their chickens from their older coop, put them inside the hen house at night, put them right up on the roost bars, didn't let them free range, okay? I'm gonna show you that free range door on the other side here in a little bit, but didn't let them free range. Make sure they learn this is their new home and remove their old home. And sure enough, after 7 days, she just started to let them free range, and they've already learned this is home as if this is all they've ever known. So right here, since we're right here, here is an egg hutch with what we call an egg hutch pantry. One of the most important parts of your chicken coop, and probably one of the most difficult things to ever design and construct, can be an egg hutch. As always, I love the drop-down door. The reason is we don't want to startle the chickens. I promise you. You think you might just come in here during the daytime and there's not a chicken in there and lift the roof up and you're not going to startle them. That's not going to happen. You want a drop-down door. Now, these chickens are still young. They're 16 weeks old, so we don't have nesting material in there, but I was just talking to the customer yesterday. She's going to start putting nesting material in there probably in the next couple weeks because they're starting to show signs that they're going to get ready to lay. So, but right now, there's no nesting material in there. But notice this wonderful ACRE. And also, same thing, you can remove the dividers, okay? Just like that if you need a nursery. If you're ever wondering, how do I introduce younger hens to my existing flock? You can do it many different ways, but the way nature has intended it is the best way to do it so there's no fighting, is when you have a hen go broody, let her raise the baby chicks. And one of the advantages by removing these is having a larger area for that little chick waterer, the little chick feeder, give room for that nursery, and then let the mama hen eventually bring the baby chicks out when they're ready. Regular egg hutch, but here's something I don't think I've shown you guys in a long time, or if ever, now I think about it. This is the pantry. We've done a bunch of these, and I want to say, I haven't been on site to see one, and most of them we shipped out, but just a extra area for storage. So here, I hope the customer doesn't mind, I just kind of opened it up. You get the idea. We got storage underneath there. We can lock this up. Here's the predator apron. Yes, it goes all the way around the entire chicken coop. Nothing can dig underneath this chicken coop. And if you're new to this channel, never seen why we do a predator apron, it's real simple. Always remember, never underestimate predators. Your coop is on guard 24/7, especially at night. That's when you probably have your highest pressure of predation. Also, while we're out here, can't say it enough, the other thing when you're designing a chicken coop, and it's another complicated area, and we do sell these. We have pre-hung windows to make your life easier. Got to have tons of ventilation. And as we go around, I'm gonna show you, we have tons of ventilation, perfectly functional windows, and they can shut if need be, all right? We have our proprietary stainless steel dowels, just like that, polycarbonate. The whole idea isn't to try to keep them warm inside the hen house. Chickens do well in cold temperature. What we have to be mindful of is blocking the wind chill. So it's just super, super easy to have access to the function of your windows from the outside of your hen house. So we're at the back of the hen house. This is what I like to call the back of the hen house, the back of the coop. I know some people say, oh, Matt, that's the front. To us, it's not. This is the back. And a lot of people say, no, I want that to be the front because how beautiful it is. I appreciate it, but it's not the front to us. And I'll explain a little bit more towards the end of this video why we don't think of this as the front, but the back. But bottom line is, what is critical that we do with the design of all of our chicken coops is we want to make your life as easy as possible. And let's say you're watching this video right now and you're trying to figure out how to convince your reluctant spouse, if you will. What can I do to be able to convince this person that I can get chickens? We have solved that problem with one of the biggest complaints people have about chickens, and that is I have to go out and clean out the hen house every week, and that is simply not true. So check this out. We have what we call our windows, basically windows in a door. We're gonna open up these hen house doors and look at how within seconds I opened up the back of the hen house. I popped the hood, if you will, and I am not bending over. If you know me well, I have a horrible back. Everything I design, everything I do in my life, I try to make sure I don't ever have to bend over. Now, it was about a week ago, I want to say about 8 or 9 days ago, we added the hemp. It's already doing extremely well. It's very hot right now. And one of the things I'm going to show you is what the fly activity is like, because when it comes to the deep litter system, I promise you it works extremely well. The mistake I see a lot of people make is they over mess with it. Put the hemp in there, let it be. Now, when your coop is just starting, you gotta give the deep litter a chance for the microbes to start, all right? So don't think that after 2 weeks, you're not gonna have a smell. You probably will, especially during summertime, and especially if you just started your deep litter in the middle of summer, which is the case here. So we've added the hemp, and I'm gonna drop down the deep litter doors. I wanna show you guys some things. One, how easy it is. Say it is time to clean, and you know, the litter's full. You can go over a year. Oh yes, this is gonna be no problem. You can go over a year without having to clean out your hen house, which I promise you, that is just simply amazing. That is a key bullet point for that reluctant spouse. But what we also did in this situation is I have said, probably since day one, I like to kickstart the hemp halfway up. And truth be told, especially with our hemp, the newest formulation where you will not find hemp as beautiful as ours, it is just the absolute best. We've realized you don't need to start with that much. So we actually only put, gosh, I'll have to go back and we got it all on video. I'm gonna say 2 bales. And so we're only gonna go a couple inches. And I think that's really all you gotta do to start it. And I know a lot of people say, well, Matt, I gotta go in there, I gotta stir it. No, you don't. You don't have to stir it. Maybe the most you can ever go is have to fold it. And I'm still not a fan of that. Me personally, I just like to add layers based on smell. Now, guys, it's a hen house. It's a chicken coop. You're gonna have chicken droppings. The roost bars might get some feces on, and I can tell you when they're younger is when they will get dirty, but eventually as they get older, you should never have to clean, never have to remove your roost bars and clean them. But to make everyone happy, you can easily remove our beautiful rope wrap roost bars that are on the sockets. But either way, with this hen house, I wanted to show you guys how quickly, how easy I was able to open the entire thing up so I have full access. Even something that's 6 foot deep, just a standard rake, easy pulling, sweeping motion right into a wheelbarrow. We can clean out a hen house this size within, if I'm not talking and being distracted, definitely under 15 minutes. I want to say I've definitely done it under 10 minutes. We want to make sure that it's big enough to allow wall space to have functional windows, especially if they're beautiful like ours, and also tons of headroom. Now, it's gonna get warm in there, and the biggest mistake you can make when designing a chicken coop is not let the thing breathe. You've gotta make sure that your hen house can breathe. So here we have ventilation on all 4 sides, and then it can all exhaust out through the ridge cap. And also here, you'll see our cupola is also functional. All right, moving around over to here. Now here's the rain barrel, and there's something unique that happened in this particular situation. I'm gonna explain more on the inside, but this customer is gonna have seamless gutters. What that means is they're gonna have a gutter company come out and actually roll them out on site. But by capturing the rainwater with a gutter right here on this fascia board and running a downspout right to the rain barrel, we have our wonderful water system, which just also makes keeping chickens so easy. So another bullet point for that reluctant spouse. We can't have chickens because we travel. We have solved all that. We have actually made it so easy to keep chickens with our coop design and all the add-ons and features that actually some parents in this case have said, Matt, don't make it too easy. I gotta make sure my kids have something to do. But here we go. Here is a polyethylene rain barrel. It's 50 gallons. And you can top it off with your hose. You can have an auto top off if you want. In this case, we actually already have some water in here, but it wasn't enough to get above the water bar. But once the downspout is delivering water to this rain barrel, it'll be full probably in one rainstorm. But there again, there is a unique situation that happened on the inside with the water bar that I'm gonna show you here in a couple seconds. All right, now moving down here, you're gonna notice, we do this from time to time, but not a lot, and it's not needed, but if you're designing a chick coop or you're thinking about getting a coop from us, what's nice when you call us is we really think about it from every angle to make it so that we think about the things you didn't know you had to think about. So in this situation, the customer does plan on, she's gonna do a bunch of coopscaping and she's gonna fence in this back area where it's gonna turn into a chicken yard. But when we're over on the other side, we have a Dutch door to gain entry for the human to get into the run. But instead of having to walk out of the run and go through a gate, let's say on her fence, she doesn't need a gate on her fence. She can actually just come straight through the run. So go through the Dutch door, go through the run, come out a regular screen door, and you're out into your chicken yard. So that's why there are 2 run doors on this particular coop. You love the chicken garden. Here's why. I love this right here. You don't need to have a solar panel, and I'm a fan of solar. I think it's really cool, but it's just 4 AA batteries, and we've seen these last over a year. We did start to have some trouble recently when they changed the design on some of their doors where it's auto-calibrated. And what we found out is if you're not careful, when you're programming your door and you don't get it out of the setup mode, it's gonna continue to drain those batteries. We found out that the hard way. So if you get one of these doors, make sure you set everything up and then get out of that setup mode and the batteries will last for a very long time. The other thing I love about this newer style all-in-one door is that the batteries, as you can see, were very easy to access. There we go. And the older door, you had to go get a screwdriver and screw it off. So speaking of getting a screwdriver and screwing it off, let's say, I was bragging earlier, I don't want to have to bend over and hurt my back. Believe it or not, you can take this control module off the main structure of the auto door and run a cord up to another area with this module, and they have like a blank that fills that in so you don't have to bend over. We just didn't do it in this situation because it just wasn't needed. But right now, we have this door set up where, yes, there's a photo cell, which will tell the door when to come up or go down based on the sun, or you can do it manually just by pressing the arrows, or you can use the timer. In this particular situation, we're using a combination. That's what I absolutely love about this door. So right now, the customer had me program it yesterday to open up at 9 a.m., but it's gonna close based on the photo cell. And I highly recommend, when it comes to the closing setting, use the photo cell, because if your chickens are free ranging, which is a wonderful thing, you're not gonna want your door closing earlier before the sun goes down, and the chickens are not gonna know how to get in, and you're gonna come out at night and you're gonna see them all huddled right here. You don't want that. All right, so coming around to the front of the coop is another add-on feature. This does not come with our chicken coop, at least not right now. I know we've been adding a lot more add-ons to make it standard, and that's actually to benefit you guys. But one of the things I was told specifically to talk about in this video from the sales team is please let everyone know what's not standard. This is a feeder hopper. It's another thing, again, for that reluctant spouse. They say, well, I don't want to have to go out and feed the chickens every day. You don't have to. Here is a external feeder hopper that is super easy to get to, and we just hook the lid up just like that with a chain. And check this out, we already have pellets in here, we got feed in here, and down at the bottom is our feeder ports that I'll show you on the inside of the run. So this holds about 100 pounds of feed, and depending on the number of chickens you have, it'll last, actually it'll last a long time, especially if they're free ranging, and especially if you're giving them table scraps. But what that does is it makes it so you don't have to worry so much about the chickens running out of feed. Now, coming back around here, here's that Dutch door. So I mentioned earlier that we have two run doors, one Dutch door, one regular screen door, so that the customer can walk in through here, shut it behind her, and continue on into her chicken yard without having to put a gate on her fence. Dutch doors are what they are. I would say probably most people get them because they're just cool. They're beautiful. But I do want to say they do serve a function, and that is, let's say you absolutely cannot let your chickens free range. You never want to take a chance of them getting out, and you love bringing your table scraps out. Your chickens absolutely love it, which of course they would. You can just open up the top half, and pretty much at this point, your chickens know what you're about to do, so they're not even thinking about getting out. They know exactly what you're gonna do. You're gonna dump your table scraps in there and close the top half, and you don't have to worry about your chickens escaping on you. The other thing too is the kids. When they come up to a chicken coop, first place they go to is the egg hutch. The second place they go to is the Dutch door. They just think it's really, really cool. And if you don't want them going into the run, this is another way for them to have that experience as if they're in there, but they're not. All right, so here we are inside the run. And this is another part. Don't underestimate how important it is, especially if you're thinking about building your own chicken coop and you're figuring out what are the do's and don'ts. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of having a run. Even if you're gonna free range all the time, I promise you having a solid roofed run in front of the hen house is absolutely critical because it gives you options, especially if there is a day that comes, and it can happen, you don't want them to free range, but it also helps give extra wall space, things like the front feeder hopper here with the feeder ports, to I'm about to show you the water bar, things like that. And the auto door is so nice to have this run area. But when you do the run area, I think a lot of people underestimate and want to save money by screening the top. And I'm not a fan of it because I've seen what happens. It creates an absolute mess inside your run. You always want to have a dry problem than a wet problem. I promise you that. And also it provides so much shade. Just not too long ago, the chickens came running in here and they were just hanging out here during the middle of the day. It's just super, super nice. Keeps it clean. When you have a screen top, water's still gonna get through, and then you start to collect the leaves and it starts sagging and just becomes an absolute nightmare, and it doesn't look good either. All right, so here we are. Nice tall run, easy to walk into. And again, here's the front of the feeder port. I'm sorry, the front of the feeder hopper. Here's the feeder ports. And look at, very little waste. I mean, next to nothing, which is nice about the feeder ports. What happens is it makes the chickens have to go in there, eat the chicken feed, and it reduces drag back. But also it prevents pests, especially mice. Now in this situation, she's got a couple bantams, actually frizzles, and she just put a rock right here so that they can jump up on this and get to the feeder port, which is perfectly fine. She wanted a brooder basement, and they're becoming so popular, I'm actually considering making them standard with all chicken coops. But basically, all the brooder basement is an area that's underneath your hen house that we've built an additional wall off the front front of the henhouse wall with 2 doors right here, so that should you need to quarantine one of your chickens, but more importantly, really why we probably call it a brooder basement, is let's say you're not going to use a broody hen to raise the baby chicks. You're going to use younger hens. They're not quite the same age, and I can tell you there's a lot of fighting that's going to go on. And one of the theories is you can put the younger hens underneath there, let them have their own area, but let the older hens start to get to know them. There's still going to be a little fighting going on once you expose them to each other completely. Wait until they're full size, and I can tell you the biggest trick to minimize fighting is let them free range. The more space they have, the better off you'll be. The other thing that happened in this situation that was unforeseen, that I'm going to explain what we ended up doing. So we added the brooder basement, and because we only have an 18-foot wall and really 12 foot of run wall space, even though, yes, it does count underneath the henhouse, and we added this run door here and then the auto chicken door there, and we needed the rain barrel system. We ran out of good places that is nice and easy to pop the water bar on. Typically, we don't have more than 1 run door, and this would not be here, and we would just put the water bar here and everyone's happy. Well, we couldn't do that. The only other spot in this situation was to take advantage of these 2 vertical posts to set the water bar. But look at, we ran right into the brooder basement. And it was actually Ethan months ago. He ran into the same problem. I wasn't there to see it, but he showed me pictures. And I was like, this is brilliant what he did. And I ended up just doing the same thing. I had to make a longer water bar so that it didn't just terminate right at the other side of this wall, and it just made it complicated to get the feed hose to come in. We made a 6-foot water bar to extend it. And so now we can go through the wall of the brooder basement, but look what happened. Now we have 2 nipples from the same water system for water access in the brooder basement without having to add another waterer. And then of course we have 4 nipples out here. I know this one's real close. This is just by default the spacing. If I was to do it again, I probably wouldn't put it so close. I would space it differently. They'll still end up using it. But bottom line is, I just thought that was very clever. So we just took a hole saw, popped a hole through the wall, popped the water bar through, and hooked it up like a regular basic water system. All right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this walk around. And again, I tried to make some more key points, maybe some things we haven't talked about, but really got to hit that things aren't that complicated when it comes to designing a chicken coop. And of course, I've always told you, if you're not going to buy a coop from us, you can always learn from us. And what I'm trying to do is explain the reasons why we do some things. I'm not asking you to call us up and tell us what pitch our roof is, how big our egg hutch is, what's the height of the bottom of the hen house. That's not the point here. The point is I'm trying to help you guys to know what to think about so that when you are going to design your own chicken coop, that you don't make the mistakes I used to make and all the things that I have learned, and you want to have fun with it. And of course, you want your chickens to be safe, healthy, and happy. Let us know what your questions are, what your comments are. Leave them down below. And as always, if you haven't already hit that bell wherever it is. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please go over to our Instagram, become a follower over there. And I think now we're also back on TikTok, so check us out over there. We're always trying to bring you some really good content. And of course, if you have any suggestions or ideas, let us know. We'll see you next time. Later.